Hello, welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Sprocket, West Kentucky, and KY Innovation. Welcome back to episode number 288. It's an even number episode, so we're talking about the news of the last few weeks. A couple interesting stories. Each of these stories, my goal is always, is there something in here, a little nugget of information that we can take away to help us, help our families, help our organizations stay a little bit safer in cyberspace. So let's dig into our first story. First story is some research that came out. This one it's on HelpNet Security, but it came from Orca Security, and it's talking about AI, and I really think this is an important thing, lesson to learn. First of all, the research, kind of the highlight of the research: 81% of organizations with AI packages, and I'll talk about that in a second, um, have at least one known vulnerability, up from 62% in 2024. It goes on to say that 56% of AI adopters have deployed agent frameworks in production. 51% use AI to build applications. Um, and then the 81% have known vulnerabilities. 99% of AI vulnerability alerts uh, with available fix remain unpatched. All that to say, we are deploying AI at a very rapid rate, and there's so much opportunity that comes along with artificial intelligence. What can it do? It can help us develop apps. It can help us to do all these great things. We should do it. Hear me say we should do that. But also hear me say we need to do it responsibly. We need to do it safely, ethically. All these descriptions. We need to make sure that we're doing it in the right way across our organization, and that we're implementing it in a way that is responsible. And when I say responsible, yes, there's the human and ethical and moral components of it, but if we're implementing something that has vulnerabilities that we're not addressing, then we're also not being responsible to our customers, to any governance framework that we're supposed to comply with. There's a lot of those pieces that we're not doing, and in some cases we're not doing it with malicious intent. Most of the cases that's not true. Most of the cases we're doing it so quickly that we don't have time to go back and look at some of these things. So we really need to make sure that we're doing this in a responsible manner. So, anyway, first piece. Second piece, and it's related to that, is the White House has created Gold Eagle, which is a clearinghouse for AI cyber threats. We are moving fast in AI. There is this arms race, if you will, of AI. I'm not telling you anything new. You know this. It's an arms race among private companies. It's also an arms race among countries. We want to be the best at AI. We do, but we're moving so fast at it, nationally, well, worldwide, that there are vulnerabilities that are being created that nation states, that countries can use to take advantage of our organization. How are we protecting ourselves? How are we identifying those? There's things called bug bounties. If you find a bug in a program, you can report it, and sometimes there's a reward. Um, we're kind of doing the same thing now with an AI component. Is if there are vulnerabilities, if you can provide intelligence to the Department of Treasury is leading this effort with contributions from others. But if you can identify those vulnerabilities, then there's now a clearinghouse to help make sure that we as a nation are protecting the assets that we need to, when it comes to AI. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Um, the next one I'll touch on, this came out last week. I think it was last week. It might have been earlier this week. I think last week. So there's a program called CMMC. You've heard me talk about this. and it's a very important program, particularly if you're doing business with the Department of War or DoD. Um, and so basically, what it says is that if you're a supplier, if you're a vendor, if you're a contractor that is working with the Department of Defense, you have to go through um, this certification process. It was optional until well, it wasn't really ever supposed to be optional, but it was kind of optional. Um, as of November last year, you were required to do a self assessment, depending on which level you are, and there's some components that go into that. But you were supposed to do a self assessment. um, Starting with this November, you had to have a third party assessor to come in and assess that you're certified, that you're meeting the requirements. That was the phase two of this new CMMC 2.0, if you will. That is The Pentagon has paused everything. They're taking a 60-day pause to do a top down review of the program. Here's the reality, I'm not linking, I'm not talking about it, but there's another story out today with the same issue, but or another story that was out the last couple of days with the same issue, but relating to a new HIPAA security rule that there was going to be updated. Ideally, all of these organizations should follow these rules. They should All companies should follow industry best practice, whether it's the CMMC standard, whether it's the NIST framework, or the CIS controls, or ISO 27000. There's all of these different frameworks, and we should follow it. Every small business should follow it. You should, but it is a burden for these small businesses to do. It is a burden for these small businesses to have to spend the amounts of money to do this. So CMMC is pausing. We'll see what happens for this 60-day review, whether it gets altered, if it goes away. I don't think it'll go away, but just what this looks like after this pause. I would assume they wouldn't pause it if they weren't going to change something. What is that something? I don't know. We'll see how that looks. But I do think it's worth noting and understanding that there is a significant pause in this program. I think CMMC is a great program in general. I think it's a program worth following. It's really just taking a framework. In this case, it's a NIST 800 framework, and CMMC is particularly concerned with CUI data, is what it's called. It's CUI data. Um, so not all businesses have CUI data, so you don't have to follow CMMC, but it's a good idea and good practice, and we'll see what it looks like when it gets done with its review. Um, and then I want to talk about patches. We just talked about a statistic when it relates to AI, and that we know there's vulnerabilities, and even some businesses know that there's patches available and they haven't done anything. Well, right now, our critical infrastructure is a very important piece of our national security, frankly. And we're trying to protect it. We're trying to do the things that we need to do to protect that national interest. And bad guys are also trying to get into that critical infrastructure: water, power, manufacturing. And most of these organizations are using industrial control systems to manage their systems. Well, Tuesday, Patch Tuesday for Microsoft was Patch Tuesday for ICS, and there were patches that were addressed by multiple organizations. Here's my issue: are you updating based on those patches? And yes, this is talking about industrial control systems, but Windows has updates. Most operating systems, most applications, most systems that we're using have updates on a pretty regular basis. Our browser even has an update on a pretty regular basis. What are we doing about that? Are we updating along with it? If we're not, First of all, you should be. If you're not, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about AI, then you're not doing it in a responsible manner. To me, you're not doing your job if you're not updating things on a regular basis and as close to when the patches come out as possible. So anyway, all right. Well, those are the stories for today. I appreciate you listening in. I'll be back next week with 10 at 10. Thank you for listening and have a good day. Thank you.